Ladies and gentlemen, let's start the following introduction with a question. Can data sharing and artificial intelligence reduce the global food safety burden? A question and the title for our upcoming segment. Ladies and gentlemen, relayed to us by the CEO of Crem Global. Please welcome Cronan McNamara.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for the introduction and the excellent pronunciation of Crem Global. I like the way you pronounce that. And I would argue that yes, we can use data and AI to reduce the global burden of food safety health. And I'm going to say yes, we can, and I'm going to try and tell you how. I need the clicker. Okay. So Crem Global, Irish company, another Irish accent up here today, and I want to thank the Dubai municipality for inviting me here. I've been here many times and I really enjoy coming to Dubai for the weather and the people and the culture. It's wonderful. So we're a scientific company and we use data and a data platform combining with the science, the best science we can get, we can understand around food safety to help organizations make better decisions around their food safety. So we heard a lot about why we need to do this and all of the uncertainty in the world today. So let's think about a future data point or a future trend. It could be anything. It could be the temperature in the world. It could be the price of a commodity. It could be the US dollar price for a barrel of oil. Can we see this variable into the future? Well, we can only see this looking backwards. So from today, we can see the historic trend of that data point. But the future is not as easy to understand. And we're always warned that past performance doesn't guarantee future returns or success. So what does the future really look like? Well, it looks a bit more like this. If we look forward from today into the future, there's uncertainty. And this comes from many things, from food safety. From a food safety perspective, there's many different influences and things that can change and bring risk and bring opportunities into the food market. Okay, so the future is uncertain moving forward from today. Trends are what we call probabilistic. They're not deterministic, they're probabilistic. So we can use methods using data and scientific modeling to understand the future better. And when you do that, you can understand the trends and the risk profile of the future of any variable you're interested in. And I would argue that you can model any variable you're interested in, be it food safety, risk, different influences on that using data. And when you do that, you get an expected value, but you also get your risk, high and low risk. So we often look at the distribution of the value of that variable in the future, be it the cases of food safety outbreaks in a country, be it the positive samples of a test, a product in a lab. We expect a certain number, but we know that that could be higher or lower. The way to understand this better is to get as much data as we can to understand the future scenario so that we can understand that risk and that range that may occur. Lots of processes in nature follow trends. They can be characterized by data. We need data. There's a lot of uncertainty, as we talked about, and in food safety, there's lots of different things that we need to understand. And I'm going to argue that data sharing unlocks the potential of artificial intelligence and machine learning so that we can actually de-risk the future. So, if you think about the data that you have available in your organization or in your country, you have your private data that you have access to. You possibly have put initiatives in place to organize this data, so this data is useful. Okay, that's a good start. Then you can supplement that with public data that's out there on the web. You can access public data sources, for example, from the CDC in the US, the RASF Rapid Alert System in EU, and you can supplement your public data, your private data with public data, and you get a better picture of the data ecosystem that you can use to train models or create models that you can use to make better decisions. This isn't all the data that you need. We need to start sharing data. And when we start sharing data through what we define as a data trust or a system to share data, you get the full picture. And then when you have all of this data, you can get the understanding of the true nature of the risk and the true opportunities within your industry. The food supply is global, so we need to think big when we're sharing data. Food safety data is complex. There's many, many different aspects to it, from right back to the farm. We heard about the ranches and the farm inspections, the testing that goes on there. We know about different market information, food consumption data, testing for pesticides, all sorts of data. So what we've done is built what we call a data trust. And a data trust is two things. It's a platform technology that allows the data secure and confidential data sharing, but it also is an agreement to share data. So data trust combines the legal agreement between organizations who agreed to share data and the technology platform to do that. Who shares the data? In our projects, we have many projects going on where industry shares data and government share data, and often they collaborate together to share data. And this is when the true power of data can be used to reduce food safety risk. The benefits of sharing data are safer food, reducing cost for industry, maximizing revenue opportunities from making better decisions and regulatory limits. It's important that the controls are in place, so it's always your data. So if you're sharing the data, you still own that data, you control that data, you can decide to remove it if you wish to remove it. It's securely owned by you, but it's aggregated into a bigger picture for use by the community. So here's a schematic of what it might look like in one of our systems. We can see many users in organization 1 are inputting data, and then other organizations are also sharing data through this system. The data is aggregated, securely anonymized into a system. It's supplemented by public data, and when you have that data into a data mart or a warehouse, you can use predictive analytics, because you now have enough data to make better analytics models, and you can visualize those results. Those dashboards and model results become available to the users who submit the data. So this is a description of a data trust in action. We've built a number of data trusts, and I'll tell you a few about those in a moment. But I believe the solution to the global food safety problem is to combine these data trusts between countries and between regions, so data can be shared and understandings of all of the different aspects of food safety can be brought together so that we can have those models and predictive capabilities. So, machine learning and AI, we're hearing a lot about it these days, becoming more and more pervasive and available. The ChatGPT models are getting cheaper and more powerful every few months. So the main thing you need to take advantage of these models, which are quite commoditized now, is good data. And this is why we need to share data, to have the ability to leverage these powerful AI models. They need data, they need lots of data. You need to share data, aggregate that data to do it. This is a sort of a technical architecture, but the key point is you can ingest all of this different data on the left. It goes through various stages and is used in predictive modeling on the right to produce better results. The key thing about these platforms is you're moving away from Excel-type data into large database systems where you can run code, you can run these more powerful machine learning and AI models. Data and analytics become possible. These models do require large volumes of data, And the data trusts make this level of data available to actually train these models to be useful. There's different types of machine learning models, which I won't go into, but there's different things you can do, from predicting relationships like regression analysis. You can classify scenarios, and you can cluster your data using different types of machine learning models. Different things you can do once you've gathered that data. So I'd like to run quickly through a couple of examples that are working. Here's one that's working in the western of the United States. This platform was set up by Western growers called GreenLink. So GreenLink and the Western Growers Consortium involves all of the major leafy green ranches and growers in the western part of the United States. And the goal is to try to understand how food safety risks arise in their industry. So we put together a project where the growers can upload data. They're uploading data on testing of their water supply. They're uploading data on the testing of the produce. They're uploading information on the inspections. And we're combining all of that data from all the growers. It's all anonymized. They can all see the big picture now of their industry. They can all see their own private data and compare that to the overall aggregate data. And that's supplemented by other information, for example, weather patterns, seasonal information, data from the US government. And all of that comes together to create predictive models that the whole community can then benefit from. So they're all getting access to the results of these models. They can upload data in very simple forms. They can use APIs to their system, or else they can just upload through a web-based system. And they get very detailed and rich information on the region and on the different types of issues that are going on. So that's being, the benefits are accruing then to the industry. They're understanding the issues that can arise and how they can prevent them. So there's many mitigation strategies the growers are using. And now we're able to test which ones are working, which are effective, and we're trying to learn from the data as we go along. So we're making great progress there. Second data trust case study is based in the United Kingdom, and this is headquartered by an organization called FIN. FIN is a consortium of many retailers and food producers in Europe, and they're interested in food fraud. And food fraud is a very tricky thing to detect. So each company may detect certain issues within its own supply chain, but they don't want to really disclose that to the whole industry because it's a very sensitive topic. So we came up with a plan, or working with the FIN group who already had this plan. We put this plan into a technology solution for them to help them combat food fraud, where each organization can anonymously and with legal privilege, totally blind even to us, they can upload information on any food fraud detection within their supply chain. And all of this data goes into a centralized system where they can then share that information. Nobody knows who submitted what, but they can all learn from the aggregated data. Every quarter, there's a big review of what the risks are in the food supply chain within this group. And we're looking at plugging in AI into this model. So far, it's been humans visualizing the data and learning from the trends. We're now plugging in AI to try to actually predict risks, whether it's from certain regions, certain categories of food, certain times of year. So we're learning a lot from this data, and we're getting a lot of benefit. Final case study is a huge data trust in the United States, organized by the FDA. So we started with seafood. 95% of seafood in the United States is imported, as Frank spoke about earlier. So we working with the US FDA to bring together all of the data they have on imports and testing of imports of seafood. That project went very well, and in this year they've expanded it not just from seafood but to all foods. So again, the US FDA is the main organization, and we're working with their users to upload data, but they've also brought in many other organizations like the US EPA and NOAA and many of the state department states in the United States. So they can all contribute this data, and it all is getting combined, again, pulling in some public data from the CDC and other sources in order for the US FDA to understand what's going on with their imports. There's been a huge growth in the available data to the analysts in the US FDA, and this has brought many benefits. It's validated some of their previous knowledge that they suspected certain risks in certain regions. They have the data now to back that up, and they're gaining new insights, and they're able to target their resources better on the right products at the right time. So when they're looking to do inspections, they can be far more targeted. So I would argue that data sharing and AI is and can and is helping to reduce the food safety burden. The food supply is global. You need to see the big picture. You need to share data in order to see that big picture. When you do that and put these connected data trusts in place, you can use the power of machine learning and AI to predict the risks, and that will help us all reduce the global food safety burden. Thank you very much.